encounter, one of the holiest encounters I've ever had.
Wow. Ooh.
Yeah, because sometimes when you're around people who try to be good, then you never have any fun. Because they feel guilty about everything they do, and so they can't never do nothing interesting. So I try to hang around people who are trying to experiment with the idea that they're innocent and recognize what doesn't mean anything. And articles of clothing don't mean anything. Articles of clothing do not mean anything. Or the lack of it. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You know, I mean, do you take a bath with your clothes on? So part of my moving into the next level of consciousness that I intend to go to is I'm going to be so myself. I'm going to run everybody away who's afraid of me and who wouldn't see me correctly. I'm gonna rush them right on out.
Give it your best
I'm gonna start today. I'm gonna start today. God is taking care of me. But one person in here, I'm still gonna be fed. You know, it frees you up when you realize God's taking care of you. It doesn't when you think people are and being liked by people and people really want to agree with you and all that stuff. You know, what can I say? So I'm going to do that course class that I'm talking about. I've been studying this thing every day for 30 years, and it's a lot I want to say that I can't say in classes like this because it would be too frightening unless you've done the preliminary work that allows you to hear it without fear. Mm-hmm. People think they're ready to hear everything, but you ain't ready to hear everything. Some things you have to build up to being able to hear. And there's stuff in this book that you have to build up to be able to hear because you have to get to the point that you can love yourself that much that you can let that much love come to you without freaking out. Cool. So you have to work up to the Course in Miracles level of love. I'm sure some people in here right now appalled by the fact that I said I went to the Victorian fetish bar. They're still dealing with that. How can I listen to a spiritual teacher who was at the Victorian fetish bar? You can listen to him with joy. I just like to be around people sometimes who are not afraid to express themselves and who feel innocent. I just do. So sometimes I just go, really, I mean, I got dicked out, you know what I'm saying? I went to the Halloween, I still had jet lag. That's how bad I wanted to get to this ball. I just got in from London not the day before, but nothing was going to keep me away from the Victorian Festival. I had an assignment from the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit said, your job is to go to this place and look at everybody in that room with eyes of innocence and remember that they're innocent and children of God having fun, and you're supposed to see them that way regardless of how they see themselves. If you will do that, I will take care of you, obviously. That was the agreement the Holy Spirit made with me 30 years ago. So you only have one job on this earth, to see people beyond the way they see themselves. And if you really want to do it really good, don't get them involved and even tell them what you're doing. Because they don't love themselves as much as you're going to love them. So they're going to spend a lot of time trying to convince you that your perception is wrong just by seeing them so beautifully. They'll be telling you all the reasons why what you're saying isn't true. Like this beautiful angel that I stayed with in London, she was blowing my mind. She was like the Queen of England. I call her the Queen. I said, I am the one that's with the Queen of England. They think she's in that palace. Her name was Allison. She blew me away. Blew me away. She sounded just like the Queen. She looked just like the Queen. We was the most original odd couple you saw walking around London. It was me and Allison. And the way I even got over there was such a trip. I got this all expense paid trip to London, incredible accommodations, and paid to speak, right? And how did I end up over there? For the Miracle Network, which is the European Course in Miracles Network. Okay? But how I got over there was, she looked and she happened to see a brochure. She'd never seen me, never heard of me. She happened to see a brochure with my picture in it. And she basically said, I want this person right here to open the conference, close the conference, and also MC. And her partners were, needless to say, resistant. She said she saw a light in me. She said she looked down and she saw a light in me, and so she fought for that. And I ended up coming over there. I mean, I can't go into all the stuff that happened. I mean, this trip was a trip. All right? So there I was, over there, because someone saw a light in me. Not because they'd ever heard me, not because they'd ever... So she was like putting her reputation on the line. Right? And
now she's really in trouble, huh?
now it's like 5 more speaking engagements came out of that thing, including Ireland and New Zealand. Ireland and Scotland. And I've been invited to speak for a New Year's Eve retreat celebration in this incredible place outside of, in the countryside, outside for the New Year. The point that I'm making is that I had experiences happen to me that were so far beyond what I could have conceived of that there was no way that my ego could have taken any credit for anything that occurred, and that was the gift. It was so good that I knew I didn't make it happen. I knew my ego didn't make it happen. I knew it was my intelligence and figuring out and planning. You can't plan something like that. You can't plan something like that. I had 3 conferences that I spoke at this year. How did I get there? I got there because one of the organizers was Googling something else entirely different, and a video of me came up, and she saw it and went, I want him in our conference. And then what I'm saying is that the Holy Spirit can pull off things that your ego cannot even imagine. And the purpose of the Course in Miracles is to get you out of the way and me out of the way long enough to let the good stuff happen easily that could make you happy, that you're trying to figure out how to figure out and how to do yourself, that you'll never be able to figure out and do yourself. Okay? Right. So if you're a person who want to take care of yourself and still be autonomous and figure it all out, then I ain't your teacher. But if you're someone that want to get rid of the blocks to the awareness of God and love and truth and happiness and innocence in yourself, then I'm your teacher and your student. Mm-hmm. So the Holy Spirit told me I wouldn't send you on an assignment without some benefits. So that's why I went to the Victorian Fetish Ball. It was a perk. So I'm sitting down there. I don't never let my subject matter get in the way of what I got to say. I know I'm not special. 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 My ego is not involved in what I'm saying. I know that there's not anything that I'm experiencing that everybody else in here couldn't equally experience as soon as they decide to. Okay, so I don't do what I do for glory or for specialness, except a part of me that is. Because there's a part of me that wants to be special. And I'm trying to stamp that part of me out as fast as I can. I'm working on it. I promise. I'm doing better than I ever did. And the women in Europe really liked me.
All women really like you, baby. It doesn't matter.
No, that's a few I can point out. It's a few I can point out that would actually like be ready to call the police if I came anywhere near them. So all women don't like me that's ever dealt with me. There's some women that don't like me because I didn't act out their script, and so they're mad.
Because they don't see the right perception of you.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't see it of them. We were equal collaborators. But sometimes it's the best thing in the world is that it gets to the point that you always realize you're a co-creator with any experience that you're having with somebody. And if you remember that, then it'll make it easier for you to forgive them. You will not want to forgive them as long as you think they created the circumstances making you uncomfortable. But you'll forgive them faster when you say, I am a co-creator in every event that happens in my life, and nothing happens in my life that I did not participate in. When you do that, it'll be easier for you to let stuff go, right? So when I went, I was scared to death to go to London. Everything about it scared me. I'm a control freak. I like to be in environments that I feel like I know my way around in, I'm familiar with, that I think I have some control over. There's a control freak ego in me. So I was definitely on my edge and not in my comfort zone to jump on that jet. I'd never been to Europe before, never been out of the country before. That was my first trip abroad. Everything about it was new, and I was going to speak to people I never spoke to before, and they were British, which I heard was very reserved and aloof, and I'm this wild black dude from the South. So I didn't know how I was going to, when I would tell people I was nervous, they go, oh, how could you be nervous? I said, cut that crap out. You know, if you've been in the same situation, you'd be nervous too. Don't be acting like you can't understand me being nervous. Well, did you know it's going to gonna be all right. Yeah, tell me it's gonna be all right. I'm so glad you're telling me that it's gonna be all right, but don't act like you can't relate to my reaction to it. Don't stop me from being human too. Then I'm by myself. I don't want to be by myself. You know, I always hope I'm wrong when I'm miserable. If I'm afraid and upset, I don't want to be right. Where do I have to go? Where can the healing happen if I'm right and everything is messed up? You know, if your financial situation sucks and you think you're right about that, where can you go with that? You want to be wrong about the way you see in your financial situation if it's miserable. You don't ever want to be right and be miserable. You don't want to go, I'm mad and upset and I got the correct perception of what's going on. You know, that's dumb. You want to be wrong as you can be if your life sucks. If nobody's asked you out for a date for 20 years, you want to hope you're wrong about your perception of relationships. You don't want to be right and miserable. I've seen some of the most miserable people in the world be absolutely proud how right they are. I'm like going, are you crazy? You want to be wrong about everything because you're miserable. And the first step to happiness is recognizing that you're miserable and not happy. Sorry. It's not being negative to say, life sucks and I want to die. That's okay. That's how you feel in that moment. And it's okay for you to feel however you feel in that moment. That doesn't make it the truth just because you say it. Doesn't mean your life is really messed up just because you feel like it is. And when you forget that it's all right, then my job and the job of everybody in here is to remember for you that you're okay, even if you think you aren't. That's right. You don't want to hang around the people that say, and let me point out a few more things you've done wrong. You don't want those people. They're not your healers. They're your executioners. I went to the whole castle where the lady, what's his name? King Henry was killing everybody. When that Henry the one that killed the Anne Boleyn or whatever. And, yeah, I went to the place, but they still got that place up. The Tower of London, you know, and I'm like looking at that. And I'm saying, yeah, that's what my ego does to me. That's what my fear does to me. It imprisons me. It executes me. That's what my fear of you does to me. That's what my separation does to me.
Wow.
And I'm not playing that game anymore.